In this video then guys, I take a look at the newest addition to the MCU as we take a look at the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which came out a few days ago, and it is not only the third installment in the Ant-Man franchise, but also the 31st installment in the MCU franchise. So without further ado, let's get into today's review. So then, I thought that this Ant-Man movie was probably the best Ant-Man movie that we've seen so far in the franchise of the Ant-Man movies. As to me, I thought that the first two movies were good, showed the character very well, but this one just steps it up a notch, and he's completely different in many ways, as it's not the typical Ant-Man movie that we see, as it takes the character more on a serious journey and comes up against probably arguably the biggest threat any MCU superhero has come across since Thanos. And to me, this Kang character seems to be a complete and utter threat. And to be fair, this puts the Wasp and Ant-Man in deeper threat than we've ever seen them. It felt like this is the movie that's going to give them the challenge they need, and to show how powerful on their day Ant-Man and the Wasp can be. And you can just see from the opening where it's building this character up, and something that I highlight in this movie in general is with Janet, is it explores Janet's journey in the time during when she was stuck in the quantum realm, and we get an idea of how she was feeling, what she did in those times, and I really enjoyed that, as it really filled the gap before Ant-Man, before she was involved in the Ant-Man trilogy. On Kang, I thought that this movie really presents how powerful and how good of a villain this guy's gonna be in the future of the MCU, as we really see just how Janet is shook by the sheer presence of him, and even talking about how powerful this guy is, as she didn't want to talk about him in any shape or form. And when people asked what happened in the quantum realm while she was down there, the main reason she didn't want to talk about it is because she nearly helped a villain. She nearly helped somebody that could destroy universes, and she gladly, even though she gave some of his powers back, she didn't give back the power to travel the multiverse, and was able to put a stop to that. Although I think this was a interesting part, and it really explores the character of Janet and what she did during the time in the quantum realm. But just to focus on Kang, I think that this just elevates him to a different stratosphere, and how powerful this guy is. It reminds me a lot of in Harry Potter, where they talk about Voldemort, and it's like it's a thing where you shouldn't talk about him, and because the fear he puts into people is unrealistic and just out of this stratosphere. And that's the same thing with Kang. It's like nobody wants to talk about him, nobody really wants to share any details about him, and when we finally meet him, we know why, as he uses his violence to get what he wants, and he uses the likes of Scott and his daughter to basically use him to be able to steal back this mess of this time orb thing that powers his multiverse ship, and that was blown up by Janet. And I think this was just an awesome bit of character development of Kang, as we're seeing how his manipulation is being used, how he can manipulate in future in the MCU. And I think this just shows us a glimpse, and this is just a glimpse of what Kang is going to be, as this was just the one variation, as we're definitely going to see more. Moving on, I also really enjoyed Scott and Hope's character development in this movie, as we see that this is the first time they're on the same page. And what I mean by that is, if you look back at Ant-Man 1, they start off by hating each other as he comes through the door, as she believes she should be in that position instead of Scott. But over time in that movie, they learn to get on with each other and then fall in love with each other at the end of that movie. Although in the second movie at the start, we see that the wheels are falling off as he didn't tell anybody that he was heading to Munich and nearly lost the suit of Ant-Man, and they had to go into hiding. And I think that was just a little glimpse of, oh, the wheels are falling off in their relationship. They're not going to be able to bring this back together. However, at the end of the second movie, they managed to patch things up and become boyfriend and girlfriend again, due to Scott helping out save her mother, in which, you know, worked out a treat, and then we saw them hook up at the end again. Finally, in this movie, we see that the wheels are truly back on again, and it is like a clean slate almost, and it's just, they're on the same page all the way through. And finally, Hope saves him from death right at the last few minutes, when we see that the family is in the clear and have gone back through the portal. Ant-Man's the one that's left, and Scott is bleeding, is busted up from having this fight with Kang the Conquer, and you just think maybe he could get killed off here until the Wasp swoops in and helps save him, and temporarily both of them get trapped after defeating Kang. But I think this just shows the character development between the two, and they work really well as a pair. And I think that there's still a little bit more to come from these two, and but I do think most of the weight now will be on Cassie's shoulders, as I think they're now going to look to expand her character in the near future. I think she had a good performance in this movie. She showed what she's all about, Cassie, and what she's going to yet to become in the MCU, but I don't yet think that she's up there on their level, but she will be there soon. And I think with either another Ant-Man movie or a developed way, like we've seen in Hawkeye with another character where they developed her, and I think to develop her now, I think it will be through a show or another film, in which I think will be great for that character. However, I do think the bar is going to be quite high now if they ever wanted to make another movie, as I think they've ended the trilogy very, very well, and I can't see them able to move into in a way where they can make a fourth installment without tainting the reputation of the first, second and third movies, as I feel they've gone full circle now, and they would have to open up another plot line for them to go off, as all the plot lines now I think have been completed, with Darren's story being completed as turning into MODOK, then sadly dying at the end after finding out that he was a dick all this time. I think that we also see the Janet storyline finished as well, with her questions of what happened in the quantum realm while she was in there. That was answered in this movie. And I don't know any other plot lines they can go with. So I think now it is down to the new generation of Ant-Man. And I think that Casey's character now will be the new Ant-Man character to focus on. They might still do a fourth installment called Ant-Man and the Wasps, such and such, but I think now it will mainly focus on Casey's development as sort of like an Ant-Man-y type character, as we don't really know much about her character yet. It was developed, and I think she did really well in this movie, although I think there's a lot to learn from her character moving down the line. Although I think this movie missed something, which was Michael Pena and his awesome story that he tells in the first Ant-Man and the second Ant-Man. And I think that is what missed in this movie, and I think it would have been nice just to see a cameo of Michael Pena being used, but obviously for whatever reason he's not in this movie. But something on that lines where he's doing the voiceovers again, that would have been great, and I think that would have, I know it's only something little, but it brings that comedy element and that thing, that follow on in every movie. Then with Michael Pena being used as to tell that story, that is hilariously funny. And I think that's all this movie missed, as it didn't use comedy as much in this movie, as it used the element of being more serious and having a threatening villain. But that sort of thing would have been great just to put in there. Maybe they took it out because I thought it would be too comical, but I thought that's what this movie just missed, as that cherry on top of the cake, and just to finish off the movie in an unbelievable fashion. Finally then, I do think this movie had some great actors and actresses, as we see the likes of Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, we see the likes of Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, we see the likes of Jonathan Majors, we see the likes of Kathryn Newton, Bill Murray, Corey Stoll, and Mike Wood. To summarise this movie then, I thought this was probably the best Ant-Man movie that we've seen so far, and I think this ends the trilogy off fantastically well. Hence why I've rated this movie an 8.1 and a classic film. So let me know down in the comments down below what your thoughts are. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button please, and hit that notification bell to be alerted to all the new content that this channel creates. And I shall see you guys in the next one. Laters.